Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 3 of Sideline Chat, sponsored by Launchbox Collective. We are here at our virtual broadcast studio, and many of you guys have asked me, when are you going to have Tony on the show? And guess what, guys? We are here with Texas native, Longhorn legend, Super Bowl champion, my friend, trustee of the Athlete Alliance, Tony Hills, aka Tony the Tycoon.
Yes, Lord, absolutely.
Welcome, Tony. We are happy to have you here today.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm appreciative, and you did a really good job on that intro. I'm gonna have my people cash app you later. I appreciate you, man. It's honored. I'm honored to be here. I'm proud of you, man. You putting something nice together.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're gonna jump right in, Tony. So first of all, we're gonna start with your roots.
Okay.
Houston.
Yeah.
A-Leaf.
Hey, what up? Dubs up, never down. Hey, Leaf, what's up, man? We here. I tried to let them know that we was gonna do something, but we here now.
Home. I'll say, some of the good rappers.
Yeah.
Even though I know we kind of, debate about, the chopped and screwed. But I'm not gonna do that today.
Okay. I was gonna see if I needed to start the beat on the table with you. You know what I mean? So we good.
Well, now we'll do that another day.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So A-Leaf, how was it growing up in A-Leaf?
Yeah. No. So A-Leaf, Texas, man. So what many people don't know is like, we're right off there off of 45 in Westheimer, Beltway 8, Cook and Bel Air is where I grew up at, man. And so I grew up, my apartment complex was literally next to the elementary school, across from the middle school, across the street from both the high schools. So A-Leaf, Elsick, and A-Leaf Hastings were both like connected through an annex building. So those were our rivals, right? So and it wasn't a real rivalry. We went to middle school with a lot of these guys, and it was cool. But I would say this: the area itself was an environment that it raised you up quickly. You learned about respect, right? Because disrespect, just being quite frank with you, could cost you your life. You know what I mean? And so we had to make sure that you understood that. You had to make sure you understood like the area. But outside of that, man, great experiences, great friendships. Quiet as kept, man. My downstairs neighbor, my man Dewante, he's actually a famous poker player now, man. So he's a famous gambler. But he and I were literally born the same month, the same day, the same year, right? Wow. Hours apart. So like that's my twin, man. So shout out to my boy D. But you create these relationships, you create these experiences, and overall the environment teaches you how to be tough. Honestly, how to be tough and how to overcome adversity. So I love it.
Okay, so your home life, how was that growing up? So I know you have some brothers. How was that with growing up with your brothers?
Yeah.
Were you guys close?
Yeah. So I grew up. Jeremy Hills and myself, we grew up in A-Leaf together. My older two brothers, they have same dad, different moms. So it's a funny story. So I met Mike when I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. So it's not that interaction where you like, all right, this is my brother, but I don't really know the dude, right? And then we start to formulate a bond and a relationship, and then we meet our next brother, Brandon. And so it's like, okay, I know we brothers, but we don't really have no bond or nothing right there. So we have to formulate that. So I think that what came from it, though, is over the years, like this just close-knit, tight family to where, like those are my brothers. So anything outside of that was extra. Like it's like you found your tribe, so to speak. And man, all of them are doing great things, right? Mike is working for a company in Austin. He's doing his thing there. Brandon has his own company, Hills Health Kitchen, out in Austin. He's doing his thing there. Jeremy is, killing it with the collective. So, and I'm, doing what I do here in Dallas. So everybody has their own thing, but it's always cool to collectively come together and just kind of talk about the stories of how it was when we grew up and stuff like that. So it's been pretty cool.
Okay. Now, one thing I want you to mention, I'm going to go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
So I know Jeremy has a collective. A lot of people know about the collective, but you didn't mention the Canes. Now, if
Ah.
you look at a lot of athletes,
Yeah.
I follow Eddie George. Eddie had on the Canes. Like, if you look at a lot of the athletes, they're wearing Canes.
Yeah.
In the league, collegiately.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it's just one of those things, man. Jeremy, you know, we call him Squirmy Jeremy, man, because he's always been somebody that was into a lot of different things, and it's been his, I guess, calling to be able to do a lot of different things in a lot of different arenas, right? So the Kane situation was just another extension of him reaching outside of the box and figuring out how does he continue to leverage different, you know, brands and business aspects and things of that nature. So what it is for people that may or may not know, it's an active recovery shoe. So my brother is in sports performance. He's a trainer. He's trained the best of them, right? So from the Earl Thomases to the Charles Omenihu's, who was in the Super Bowl, to the Xavier Worthies, like you name it, he's trained them. And so he was able to partner with a company that decided like, hey, man, we need to be innovative in the active recovery shoe market, right? Because as an athlete, man, your feet is your money. And so he was able to do that, man, and they've launched. And my whole thing is when he watched this, bro, I need a couple orders, bro. I need that for real. Like, you need to send that to the house, or I'm going to tell mama. Period and point blank.
Can I get a pair? We shouting you out, live.
Yeah, he need a pair too. Sideline chat version. We gonna work on that for you.
Yeah, thank you. But and also Jeremy played for the Longhorns
as
well.
He did. Yeah. He followed his big bro. He followed his footsteps. It was interesting. He was a very good running back. Very good running back, right? I went to LSIC. Of course, he came behind me. He went to LSIC, made a name for himself there, was highly recruited. Ended up settling on the University of Texas, and he had a pretty decent career there. But I think most importantly for him, UT allowed him to grow up a little bit. You know, like being like you a middle child, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you don't got middle child syndrome or nothing like that.
No,
okay,
I was
cool.
good.
You
I was
good?
good.
You straight?
I'm
Okay,
good.
cool. All right. So being a younger child, right? When you're in your older brother's footsteps, and seemingly I'm the good one, right? I'm the one that don't make the mistakes. I'm the one that, like, older brothers and sisters, they're usually cautious because they don't want to let you know the parents down and all that type of stuff. Well, he didn't subscribe to that philosophy, so he did everything that was the opposite of that. And so a cool story is, you know, I'm at Texas one day. And I'm just telling you this so you can get some insight about who Jeremy is and why we are cut the way we are. So I'm at Texas. I'm on a date with a young lady, right? And I had been, you know, talking to this young lady for quite some time, and we finally were able to get our calendars to, you know, sync together, and we're on a date. So I'm all excited, like, you know, we're gonna go to the movies, we're gonna go to dinner. You know, I'm thinking I'm big time. We're in college now, you know what I'm saying? And I get a call from my mom. Shout out Mama L. He at the bus stop. You go get him. What? Who's at the bus stop? She's like, she was like, your brother. And before I can answer why, click. So the young lady looking at me, she's like, is everything okay? I was like, we gotta make a stop. So we're driving now to the Greyhound bus stop. Here's the thing that had me like, oh, really? This brother comes to me and says, man, where you been? I've been waiting on you for 4 hours. I was like, hey, man, I didn't even know you were here until 30 minutes ago. So it was one of those things where mama just got fed up with the way he was behaving. But this story is so pivotal because he stayed with me for the summer. And by him staying with me for the summer and me implementing that discipline with him, in him, and him working out with the guys, right? Because he would work out with us and train with us, right? It sparked a fire in him to where he was like, yeah, man, this is where I want to be. So by the time he went back, he was not the same person. And so I thought that, you know, we never know how God orchestrate things in life, but I thought that was pretty cool that I was able to be somewhat of a catalyst and a pivotal shift for him to go back, to get back to Texas and create his own legacy, which he did. And he's doing great there.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this. If you never rode on the Greyhound bus,
Yeah, you can't sleep on that joker.
that's a humbling experience. Yeah, you got to sleep with one eye open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll make you or break you. That's a humbling experience.
Yeah, you meet some interesting characters on the Greyhound bus.
Yes, Lord.
Absolutely. And I think they need to rename it because it wasn't moving as fast as the Greyhound at all. Like them buses be breaking down.
I don't know why they came up with that name Greyhound. What's the slow dog? Chihuahua?
No, I don't know.
No?
A sloth bus. That's going.
That's interesting. We need to research. We're gonna put that on the notes.
Yeah.
Why they called it the Greyhound?
Yeah, absolutely. They need to change it.
Yes. So back to A-Leaf.
Yeah.
So what was your dominant sport? Did you play two sports? Because most athletes, they either have two sports that they played. What sports did you play?
Yeah. So believe it or not, my introduction to sports, the sports world period, was actually soccer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, before there was Messi, there was me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just for people to, know that. Before y'all had Ronaldo, y'all had, the tall doe. You understand?
The tall doe.
Yeah, it was me, man. So I loved it. But the problem was, so I don't know if a lot of people know, maybe they I don't know if the cameras will show my size, but like I was a pretty big kid. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when I was like 5, I was the same size as probably like a third or fourth grader. Right, playing with the 5-year-olds. So the moms were like, their level of festivity was extremely high because I kept like bullying their kids. And so they used to ask my mom for like my birth certificate. And my mom is from El Campo, Texas. So she don't play about her kids, and she got hands. And for those of our viewers that are not, used to urban slang, that means she can throw her fist in people's face really well. And so it became an issue. So we came from that sport. And at the time my dad was, my dad was there. So he put me in martial arts. And that became the second way that I was introduced into sports. And then from there, we went into basketball. So basketball, when I picked up the basketball, man, I was like, yo, this is my thing, right? And I ended up actually playing for an AAU team called the Houston Hoops. And so a couple of guys that came out of there were the Lanny Smiths, who his Active Faith is his brand. He's created that, done a real good job with that. Indy Ebby, he played with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Blake Adams, Michael Ume, they were some college stars. But the person that probably stands out the most would be Kendrick Perkins. And so Big Perk is on ESPN and has won NBA titles with the Celtics. So he's done really well. So I played with them, but that opportunity catapulted me to the Junior Olympics at 14. So at 14 years old, the first time that I ever really got on a plane to go somewhere outside of Houston was to another country, right? And so that experience was dope. Learned a lot there. Came back with a different perspective, and then from there, once I left there, I decided that I didn't want to do two sports anymore. So I went all in on football, and it was pretty cool because my first official D1 scholarship offer came from the late, great Joe Paterno from the University of Penn State. He offered me a full ride as a freshman. So it was pretty cool.
Penn State, that's a great school.
Yeah.
I have a avid love of basketball. A lot of people don't know Penn State is where Ben and Jerry's. I also have a love of ice cream. But yeah, Penn State, that's where Ben and Jerry's is at. And so for the people that can't see you, sitting, I know I'm tall.
Yeah.
But how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
Yeah, I'm 6'6", about a solid, about 285, 290 fluctuation. But the thing is that once I stopped playing football, man, I was on a mad mission to lose weight because I just didn't want that weight on my body anymore, like stressing my knees and everything. But now, I can wear regular clothes, so it's pretty cool. So I'm a big dude that be dressing like a small dude, and they hate that. I'm gonna give you. All right. So just to let you know that it's legit. So Jeremy, talking about Jeremy, right? I told him, me and my brothers, we in a group chat. I can't give y'all the things that go on in the group chat. I don't think that it's righteous. I'm just be honest with y'all. They don't always be saying the most holy stuff in there. But one of the topics was articles of clothing. And I was like, well, Jay Hills, he probably at this point got the more money out of all of us. I'm going to just go shopping in his closet. To which he responded, boy, you can't fit nothing in my closet. I said, bro, I wear a large in T-shirts. They ripped me a new one. Boy, yo, big, don't wear no large and all this stuff, right? I said, all right, the next time I come to Austin, y'all going to be there, come to Jay House, pull up. That means come to his house for everybody that don't know what pull up means. I'm going to make sure that I want them to understand. Mm-hmm. So we get there. Say what's up to my nieces, my nephew, sis-in-law, we hanging out, we chilling. And I was like, oh, yeah, I ain't forgot about that either. So I walked to the back. He was like, bro, don't take my shirt and mess my shirt up. I said, I'm not. So I grabbed the shirt. It was a large. I put it on, put my hands out like this. All of them mouth dropped. They like, bro, how is that possible? I said, I told y'all we're a large. At that particular point, the jokes flipped off of me to him about how he been buying shirts that's too big. So I started taking, at that point, he was like, man, you can have them, man. I can't believe y'all been letting me walk around like this. I was just my brother's keeper. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so tell me, so what was your heaviest?
335 in Pittsburgh. When I got drafted in 2008, the Steelers said, hey, man, that weight you're playing with, that 307, that's cute. We need you to get bigger. I'm like, what? So they had me eating. I did have Ben and Jerry's. I used to have to eat that at night. Peanut butter and jelly. Steaks was crazy. Proteins, the whole nine. And by the time it was probably about my second year, I was sitting at around 330, 335, right? Still athletic, right? Still can move, but, man, that was a lot of weight to carry. But I played with it. But then what happened is, going on to the heaviest, how do we get back down? When I got to Dallas, they wanted me to drop weight. So I got back down to my playing weight, which was around 315. And you could tell the difference. Faster, lost a little strength at 315. At 335, stronger, lost a little speed. So my playing weight was right around 320. I felt like that was the happy medium. So yeah, that's a great question. Most people don't even know to ask that.
See?
Look at you. Touch these. Good job. All right.
So I know now, too, because people are used to you, being so big, the people that play with you, most of the, the players. So now when they see you now that you're more toned and, muscular, they're like, oh my goodness, like T Hills, like you look good, man, because they expect you, be. Yeah.
Yeah, it always catches them off guard. It's cool to see. And quiet as kept, man, like, I get where they're coming from because, like, for instance, I played with a guy named Casey Hampton. This dude was a 6'2", like 360-pound, like bowling ball. Like, you wasn't moving him, like, off the line of scrimmage. And then I seen him lately, and I was just, like, floor to the ground. Like, bro, you look phenomenal, man. Like, I ain't never seen Slim Casey. He not Big Hemp no more. He Lil Hemp, right? That's what we call his last name was Hampton. We call him Big Hemp. Like, he Lil Hemp, but he looks great. And to that point, it would segue into this because I think that this is important. Man, when guys retire, like, don't stop working out. You know what I mean? You could tell a lot of guys were working out because of the check, right? They got to be in shape. You get fined if you're overweight, things like that, right? Didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
All right, there you go. That's a Sideline Chat exclusive. Yeah, so you get fined if you're overweight. So some clubs will fine you like something crazy like $1,500 a pound, some $750, some $500. So, like, when guys get out the league, what you'll tend to see is they blow up, right? And that's not good because then they start having health issues and things of that nature. So I'm always happy to see my guys that are on that weight loss journey and just wanting to be healthy because it matters, man. We got to take care of our bodies because we abused it for so long. Yeah.
And I always say that a lot of the guidelines with the league is similar to the military. So they don't necessarily fine you monetarily, but if you're overweight and you don't meet your tape, because they know certain people, your bone structure is different. So they tape you in certain places. But if you don't meet the tape, what they do, they give you a certain amount of days to meet it. After that, they'll start processing you to get out. So I guess then it somewhat will affect you financially if they process you out. Then you don't have that steady income that you were receiving in the military.
Yeah. So when you say like they're moving you outside of the, like you got to get gone type
You're
of thing.
getting processed out the military.
That's tough.
So after those 30 days, if you're not meeting your weight or your tape,
Yeah.
they're doing your paperwork to process you out of the military.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some similarities. That's probably why. So I met a brother that I played with. His name is Nate Boyer.
Mm-hmm.
He's an ex. I want to say Beret, Army Beret. I think he was
Green Beret.
Green Beret. There you
Mhm.
go. And he was actually, so when the whole Colin Kaepernick thing took off,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And like Colin actually reached out to Nate to ask him what was a peaceful way to protest that wasn't disrespectful to the Army. And so Nate gave him the story about how, like, when they're fallen soldiers, they take a knee to honor the soldiers.
Mhm.
So that's where that came from. So although Colin is the face of that, it was Nate's suggestion that sparked that movement, which I thought was pretty cool, because he came back and made a movie called MVP, Merging Veterans and Players, because Nate went to Texas. Nate was a deep snapper for Texas and also for the Seattle Seahawks. So he's able to play on both sides. And so hearing you talk about how if the players are not doing what if the people in the Marines or the Army are not doing what they're supposed to do, or the military, excuse me, they basically remove them out. It's similar to the NFL, right? And probably other NBA leagues like Zion Williamson and stuff like that. Like, if your weight is an issue for too long, teams will stop signing you, and now you've literally eaten your way out of the league. And quiet as kept, Charles Barkley had that issue too. So I think it's fascinating for the viewers to know, like, the similarities, even though one is in athletics and one is, serving the country. There's similarities in both spaces. You know what I mean?
It teaches you discipline.
Mm.
So that's one thing. It teaches you discipline. So I want to go back to your childhood. We talked about your mom, and you said your dad was there.
Yeah.
And then your dad wasn't there.
Yeah.
So how was that for you, having your dad there and then having him gone? How did that affect you as a child?
It's confusing. And you start to internalize things and start thinking if maybe something is your fault or you're not doing the right thing, right? Because he left and then he actually came back, and then he left again, right? So I don't know which one was more traumatizing, quote unquote, the first time or the second time. But what happened is it invoked this fire within me, a lot of anger too. Like, I internalize my emotions, right? And so it's not until, like, that button is pressed that everything that's inside of me actually comes out. But that's why football, like I've said before to you as we were talking, that football is my father, right? Because that space allowed me to understand the importance of emotional intelligence, right? Because in football, like, you have to find a balance between an immense amount of rage and an area of calm. You have to be able to play in the middle, right? You got to be able to play in the midst of the storm. And so football teaches you that, because if you're overly aggressive and you get penalized, those penalties can cost your team. And the one thing that we never want to do as athletes is cost our team, right? So that emotional control, that controlled rage, that controlled violence was something that the game gave me. And I was able to carry that, off the field. When you talk about, you use the word that I love, discipline, right? I mean, listen, you got to work out, you got to study, you can't, like Mike Tomlin used to have this statement that he made where he said, no excuses, no explanations, only results. Right. So it gave me that, right? Like, being able to overcome adversity, understanding that nobody cares about your problems and they're probably glad that you got them. Right. So you got to figure out a way to overcome that adversity and to continue to push forward in spite of. So football, man, gave me so many lessons that I believe that a father would have given his son, right? What I give my sons, right? Like the Bible say, you have to train up a child in the way that should go, and when they leave, they should not depart from it. Football gave me those lessons. And those are the lessons that I carry with me to this day. And a lot of decisions that I make, not only with my children, but also in business and in friendships and other relationships. So absolutely.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I was just listening to Miles Monroe this
I love
morning.
Miles Monroe, man. I love him, man.
And he was just talking about, just how God prepares us, with all the adversity and opposition, and sometimes we don't realize it, but it's to take us higher, to take us to a place that even we can't, fathom.
Mm-hmm.
So we might think it's at one level, but it's something even to prepare us for, even in our future,
Yep.
the adversity.
Yep.
But it is the adversity that, what I'm saying, builds us,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what make us. So it's not when we're really comfortable and calm.
Correct.
Yes, we're building, certain things help us with our character, but the majority of the time it's the opposition and the adversity. And speaking of adversity and opposition, so the injury that you experienced when you were in high school.
Oh, you good. Okay. All right.
You had all these offers. You went to a lot of these great colleges.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when you experienced this injury?
Yeah. So in 2003, so let's back up. So prior to that, number one tight end in the state of Texas, number 5 player, 6th player in the country, something like that. I had a house clearing recognition named after me. It's called, my high school football number was 98. So it's called HCR 98, house clearing recognition 98. And it was just a recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went up there with my high school coach, Billy Barron, and that was pretty cool, right? So I bring that up to see like how life is moving, the trajectory of life, how it's all seemingly going in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the scholarships. I had scholarships from every D1 school that there is, right? Everybody wanted me there. University of Miami, Iowa. I think the only school that didn't recruit me, which I felt kind of salty because I'm like, bro, I'm in your own backyard, was the University of Houston. But I figured they was like, yeah, we're not finna get this dude. Playing Converse Justin in the state semifinals. I go up, catch a routine pass. I got the ball. Got a linebacker getting ready to stiff arm him off of me. He wraps his leg around mine, and then the corner that was closest to the sideline comes and hits me in my knee.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I tell this story, and I say the same thing every time. So I tore my LCL, my MCL, my PCL, my LMNOP, whatever L is in my knee, it was gone, right? But that wasn't the thing that did it. What did it was I stretched my peroneal nerve. And I learned a little bit about the importance of peroneal nerves. Is that's what gives your foot the ankle, the dorsiflexion, and move, and allows it to move up and down. I didn't have that, so my foot just hung like this. There was no nerve endings that were firing, so I basically was paralyzed. And so when you go into the doctor's office, and we're getting the results back, and they're telling us everything, and they're like, "Look, you're probably not going to walk normal again, much less alone play football." Man, that's a gut punch. Here I am. I'm at the top of the mountain in one day, and just like in an instant, everything is gone. But the thing is you go through this process. Woe is me, dark times. Why is it, right? Mm-hmm. And then my mom, like I said, shout out to Mama L. Like, she came in, like I'm moping or whatever, and she came in one day, and she's very colorful in her language. It's how she grew up. and the PG version was, you either gonna fight or you gonna get out. But I got another son to raise, and I ain't finna watch you mope around here doing, X, Y, and Z. So what we doing? And with tears in my eyes, I said, I'm gonna fight. So I started working out as though nothing was wrong. So I'm at the gym, I'm running, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing all of these particular things. Still nothing is happening. Mm-hmm. I go in for a surgery to clean up the knee, or not to clean up the knee. I go in for knee surgery. Then we come back after that. That's when I start doing the training and things. We have the conversations, fight or get out, right? And then they're like, well, we need to do another surgery to remove the scar tissue. Okay. So when we're in the hospital, I come out of surgery, and she's talking to me and everything. And I'm not trying to hear what she's saying, because I'm just like, I'm thinking about all of the things that's going on with me right now and what life looks like. There's this red button on the side of my bed. And I'm like, what does this do? Now, it's red. Why would you put a red button to a curious mind? You know what I mean? Like, red mean don't touch. I touched the mess out of that button. I want to know what it did. So I kept hitting it. And I noticed every time I hit it, I got sleepy. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Because every time she come in here, I can slide this joker to the side and just be, I was hitting the mess out of this button, right? I come to find out later it was morphine. So I was like, that's why I felt so good, right? But she was like, okay, baby, I see you get sleep. I'm going to leave and come back. So she leaves and she comes back. And when she comes back, she's like touching my leg like this and talking to me. And I was like, hey, Mom, hold on. Do that again. She's like, what? I said, touch my leg like that again. She started touching my leg like that. I started crying. I said, Mom, I can feel that. So they ran and got the doctors and everything. And, man, the rest was history. God had restored the things that I thought that he took. And he just shifted the plan that I had because he had another plan for me. And I had to go through that space. There's a character in Batman, and I'll land the plane here, but there's a character in Batman named Bane who said, you think darkness is your ally. I was born in the darkness, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was a grown man, and by that time it was nothing but blinding. Meaning what? God placed me in that place to mold me into somebody different because he knew where I was going and where I was headed. And the old me would not be able to do the work that needed to be done in that space. And so when you look at like plants and trees, I look at these things like, when is the most growth happening? It's not when they break through the surface. It's when they're underneath the soil. So that was my soil moment. So long story short, I get the feeling back. Coach Mack Brown honors my scholarship. And the rest is history, man. I moved to offensive line and championships and being drafted and all of that type of stuff starts to take place.
You know, God has his way to strategically align us and take us on a path. Because sometimes, I mean, you were young.
Yeah.
And your mom, she wouldn't have known like which school to tell you to go to. So, you know, he had to do a thing to send you where he needed to send you.
Yeah.
And I have to say this because I have injuries from the military. I'm still recovering from 3 injuries. And it is really something. I mean, I haven't experienced any injuries to that magnitude. And I can only imagine for you being a child to go through that and to experience an injury. It affects your mental, your emotional, and your physical.
Correct.
And I tell people all the time, unless you go through pain that like really push you down, you really start calling all them scriptures to mind. And that's just like now, because I was down for a while, like these past few months, and you really know, in him, I live, I move, and I have my being. Like when you're down, then when you can get up and start moving around, like you really understand, like really what a blessing it is to get up and start moving and walking. Like that's a big thing. So, I mean, to be down and to have your mobility and then to get to be chosen to go to Texas and then win a championship. With Vince Young and Jamal Charles. And a championship hasn't been won with Texas for what?
35 years since 1970.
And then now no one's won it from Texas. What now? 20 years? Since 2005. So I mean, God
goes to show you.
He knew the way. He knew the way for you to take. But then, still talking about adversity. You get to Texas, then you have another injury.
Senior year. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy about these injuries, man. So the first injury in high school happened my senior year, right, on my left leg. The second injury at the University of Texas, the first injury in high school happened my senior year, left leg. Second injury happened the University of Texas, senior year, left leg, right? I'm like, yo, this left side, bro, we're going to have to put some holy oil on or something, bro. Like, we got to figure out what I've been doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sprinkle me a little bit. What I've been doing on this left side, that you know, but the thing is like, I think that's the beauty about experience, because experience allows you to have recall. And so I knew that I was going to get back. and I knew the type of work ethic that I was going to put in to get back, right? And so that the second time you get hurt, my leg was broken or whatever. The second time you get hurt, it's all about like, okay, let's get the surgery done and let's start the training and let's push ourselves to a particular space that we never thought that we could go. Like we as people believe that we have limitations, but the only limitations are between our ears. Like that's why I love the saying that says if you say that you can do something or you can't do something, both things are right. Both things are true, right? Because it's about the perspective. So for me, my perspective was I'm going to get back, I'm going to get healthy, and I'm going to get drafted. That was what my thought process was. And I didn't allow anything to deviate my thought process. I had already been through something that was worse than this. And I understood that God delivered me from that. So now this particular time, it's like, all right, Lord, you maneuvering me for something else. And I was prepared for it. And I think that's the beauty about experience is that once you overcome whatever that adversity is and you have that experience, now you can have that recall to be able to say, okay, this is just the next, stepping stone in the story. So yeah, long story short, man, we got healthy, we got drafted, and we walked out as a champion again. So
you was like, God did it before. You like this light work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, his ways are above our ways and his thoughts are above our thoughts. And whatever we go through is what we go through. We just got to make sure that we grow through. So I want to make sure that any experience that I have, that it's a growth experience. Because a lot of times what I've realized is a lot of the things that we go through is not necessarily just for us, if it's for us at all. Sometimes it's he knows that we're strong enough to handle the thing that we're about to encounter so that when we get out on the other end of it, now we can take that and then communicate that to other people that might be going through something similar or that might be going through something, that they believe is like the worst thing that they've ever dealt with. But when they hear your story, they're inspired to continue to keep going.
Yes, exactly. Because, of course, seeing players that are in the league now, seeing players that, collegiately that still want to be in the league and they've been injured, not even to the magnitude that you are at. And then someone we both know, Tyree Phillips with the Giants and had to come back from an injury working hard. And now he's back with the Giants because, he's a person of faith, but through working out, he's back. Yeah. So, definitely God can do it. Yeah. And so definitely know that that's possible. So one thing that I want to talk about with you giving back to your community, giving back to Houston A-Leaf, mentoring, going back, you and your brother, we had talked about the pro camp that he had did last summer.
That was dope.
I was able to be a part of that, but to see the level that it was done, having hot tubs, having the food trucks, having the food there for them. It was definitely a professional camp. For those young boys. So that one, that was something that people expect to be for adults or maybe for college students, but it was for the young boys there in the community. They had a DJ and everything. So it was at a top tier level. And for him to bring back NFL players, guys that were in the NFL and these professional coaches. And it was just amazing. Yeah. What you guys did, what he did for the community.
Yeah. No, absolutely. My brother has a big heart and he has a love and an affinity for A-Leaf, as do I. And so he's in a position now with his charity, Collective Effort. And I'll definitely touch on that. But he just recently, not too long ago, took some kids that were in some impoverished areas and through the University of Texas, as well as the Collective Effort, his foundation, was able to take those kids to Europe to be able to see what life looks like outside of their situation. These were some kids that have been in some pretty bad situations, but they're the top ranked academic children of their class. So it just goes to show you the importance of imagination. I say that imagination elevates expectation, right? And so what he was able to do. We were there, a couple of NFL athletes, college athletes. We were all there to be able to give back to the kids for the football camp. See, the football camp, man, that's the bait. Right. So we do a bait and switch. Right. So the bait is the football camp. All the guys, I want to be around these league guys. I want to get around these college guys, man. I'm trying to get to the next level. They're going to get me. Yeah. Come on. We'll give you that. But when you leave, you're not going to leave the same, because the information that we're going to empower you with is going to cause you to have to make a decision. And that's different from choice. Right. A choice is just, you choose one. Like, all right, one day I want steak. The next day I want, chicken. That's a choice. But if I'm somebody that says, okay, I'm deciding to be a vegetarian, that means that whether you put steak, chicken, lamb chops, beef patties, what I'm saying, dinosaur bone, it don't matter what it is, I'm going to always decide to choose the salad. Why? Words are so important. So the Latin word of decide is desirde. Sirde means to cut. Day means off or from. So you're literally cutting off or from anything that doesn't align with your purpose or the thing that you said you are going to do. We're showing the children how to make the right decisions, even in the midst of the chaos that might be around you. And that's not always easy. But that's why you'll never hear me talk about a level of difficulty. Who cares? Like, nobody cares about the level of difficulty. This is not Madden. We don't get to choose, right? This is real life. Yeah. Sometimes things can be simplistic, but what I've learned is the more that you are in adverse situations and you overcome them, the simpler it becomes, not because the situation is simple, but simply because of the fact that you've been able to overcome them more, so you know how to do it, right? And so that's the message that we're giving to those young kids, and they've taken well to it. And so that's something that we're going to continue to do in the A-Leaf community, is go back, do these camps and other initiatives as well, as we continue to grow as our businesses, and we are able to have even more reach than what we do now. We'll pour more back into the community to be able to give these young men a different expectation, right? Because having a vision is so important. It's so important. You cannot let anybody or anything take a vision, or people call it a dream, whatever you want to call it, but you cannot let them take that from you, because that is everything. We are created in God's image. God is a creator. We must have a vision, period, and point blank.
And I know something that also happened there, and something that Jeremy did, and also that happened there, and that you do even with the media. And I don't know if you recalled, it was a guy there. He came out to do media, providing people opportunities to come out. And he had sent the message, and he said no one would give him an opportunity, and no one wanted to work with him. Yeah. And he said he was going to put the camera down. And he said that someone reached out, and he said he came out, and he said he knew it was God. And after that, he got the opportunity, and Jeremy and a lot of the football players were reposting his work. And since then, he had opportunity. And I was just like, man, God, like, I seen the message, and it made me want to cry. But I was just like, that's what it's about. Providing people opportunities, giving back, being a servant leader, you know what I'm saying? Doing that for other people. So, not just even, for the athletes, just providing opportunities. And I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember the young man you were talking about. I heard it said one time, because that's about faith. When you're right at a particular point, right? And this is for those that may believe in a higher power, or those that just believe in self. Faith is faith, right? And so the one thing that I understand to be true is that, how can you ever know that you have faith if it's never tested? You know what I mean? It's like, you have to get to a point to where you feel like you want to quit, because in that particular space is where the true decision lies on if you are really, like we used to say in the hood, like, if you really about that action, right? Many people have all of these great ideas, but it's only so few people that actually execute. So what is the difference between the idealist and the executor? I think the difference is the faith of the expected end. Like, understanding that this is just where I am in the moment. So for that young man that was in that situation, bro, that was just where you were in the moment. But if you continue moving forward, I've already orchestrated something for you that's going to catapult you into a whole nother level. That's why for me, I was taught a mentor of mine and a man that I listen to quite often is a brother named Myron Golden.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught a lesson about the understanding of how disruption always follows intention. And so when he taught that lesson and I was able to grab, that's a principle, right? When I was able to grab that principle, now it shifted my viewpoint and my perspective on everything that I do, right? So whether it's, we're going to shoot a show and everything don't go the way it needs to go, or whether we're, going to a restaurant and we have bad service, like whatever that is, whether we're going to build a business and then there's, things that we didn't take into consideration and money is lost and friends is lost, whatever it is, disruption always follows intention because God is a God of balance. So if you have good, then you're going to have evil. If you have light, you're going to have dark. Everything is about balance. So if you have intention, right, and this is what I talk to my athletes about, whatever you're intending to do, understand that there's going to be adversity. So the adversity is the heart check to make sure the thing that you're saying you want to do, you truly are about that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he was able to continue to carry on because I've seen some of his stuff on social media and he's still moving, elevating to this day. So that was dope.
So we didn't talk about you with the Steelers.
Yeah.
You went to the Steelers.
Yep.
And you were blessed to be under the tutelage of Mike Tomlin.
Yep.
And everyone knows he's such a great coach.
Absolutely.
And so
the winningest coach, man. never lost the regular season game.
Right?
Yeah.
So you were not only under him, you got your ring.
Oh,
you
yeah,
got your ring on. You know what? This almost looks like the ring with the Avengers, what was it? The Crystal Stones. What was it?
The gauntlet. Yeah. The gauntlet with the stones.
The Infinity Stone.
The Infinity Stone.
The Infinity Stone.
Yeah, they got some of those in there.
I
ain't snapped my finger yet, but people start acting up around here. Half this planet gonna have to figure out where they at.
I'm Team Marvel. Maybe we can go back if we do the Infinity Stone. Maybe we can go back when eggs was like $2.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. You know what? I might have to snap, y'all.
Go snap.
I might have to snap.
Bring the eggs back to $2.
Can I bring gas down to 99 cents?
Yeah, we're gonna put that in
cool.
there.
I think a lot of people would appreciate that. Yeah, no, I would. So with this, man, like the whole thing was, we talked about the injury. That injury actually, and a lot of people, I believe it lowered my draft status. But it was God ordained because a couple of things happened. One, a good buddy of mine at the time, his name was Lyman Swede. So he and I were roommates at Texas, won championships together. When we played in the Alamo Bowl, we actually rode up there and then drove back together from there and hung out the whole nine. He was my roommate in college the whole nine. And now we're getting ready to become teammates at a professional level. So he and I went through that experience together. So he was drafted in the second round. I was drafted in the fourth round. And in that magical run, man, we learned what it was like to be a professional. We learned what it was like when things are clicking at the right cylinder. We learned what leadership looks like. Talked about Mike Tomlin. I learned so much from that brother. So much lessons that I teach my sons today. You know what I mean? Like the standard is the standard, right? No excuses, no explanations, only results. Nobody care about your problems. You probably glad that you have them, right? All of these particular things, right? Don't be a one-trick pony, meaning what? Expand, right? Be good at many things, master things, but, embrace being a jack of all trades. Embrace that, right? So all of these particular things that he taught me as a coach, they were fatherly lessons that I'm able to now give my sons. And then from there, man, one of the greatest runs in Steelers history, we go and we play a team that was hot at the time. And, just like in life, you as long as there's time left on the clock, continue to shoot your shot. And we ended up coming out on top, man. And I will forever be, regardless of what they call me, Tony the Tycoon, the business owner, Tony this, Tony that. It's Tony Hill's Super Bowl champion. And that is the thing that embodies, sport and being cemented in legacy.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what level you are on in that participation, you will be you're a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that understanding that and seeing that has been the thing that has catapulted all of the stuff that we're doing today with the young men and with our business.
Speaking of a champion,
Yeah.
and I want to explain this, and I want you to touch on this a little. For a lot of people that are not around college athletes, that are not around NFL athletes, one thing that they do not grasp or know, that for athletes to go to college and to play, then they're the 1%.
Yeah.
And then to go play in a league, they're the 1% of that 1%.
Yeah.
And so we talked about mental and we talked about the mental, but most people only see what they see on TV.
Yeah.
And if they go to the games, they only see what they see out there on the field.
Yeah.
So they don't see the schedules. They don't see the meetings. That's all they see. So I want you to touch on the mental and the emotional, the pressure, because they don't realize that you're competing. You're on a team,
Yeah.
but you're still competing for your spot.
Yeah.
And so college is one level, but when you get to the league, it's even more pressure that's on you. Can you explain, like, how was that for you and that process of being the 1%, then the 1% of the 1%?
Yeah. For me, I can be honest with you. I didn't feel that pressure.
Okay.
And the reason why I didn't feel that pressure is because of my environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real pressure is trying to figure out what you're going to eat.
Okay.
Real pressure is trying to figure out, which route I got to take so I don't get, caught up in these gang fights. Real pressure is survival. Like, I've been in situations to where, just like you and I are talking now, we having a good time, and I'm talking to a homie of mine, a good buddy of mine. The next day, he's no longer here on this plane. That's real pressure. What the NFL tries to do is it tries to put you in a position to where it's like, hey, man, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to do this. It's an honor to do that. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, man, but it's the talent that God gave me. That's the product.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never like in a situation where I felt like there was pressure. I definitely understood the privilege that I had as it pertains to how God orchestrated things, but I always knew who was in control. Like, man don't control my destiny. And it's so funny, I got a story about that because I was cut by a team and a particular coach. I'm not finna give him no clout, so you don't get no names on the sideline chat with Alicia Darren. But basically told me when I was around year 6 or so that, this is probably gonna be my last opportunity. I'm like, bro, you don't dictate my life. I don't even understand how you can fix your lips to tell me that. I don't care how long you've been in the league. Like, and the funny is kept, I ended up getting picked up by the rival to that coach who he was coaching that team. And I started that game and wore them cats out. So you know what time it is. But to answer your question, here's the numbers, right? We're talking about numbers. There are 364 D1 schools. They have just cut the scholarships from 120, 150, 120-ish to 105. 38,220-ish players are in D1. In the NFL, you have 32 teams. You have 53 roster spots. So that's where the money's at. It's on the roster. And they upped the practice squad spots to 17. So 70 total players on each team. 32, 70, you got about 2,220-ish players, maybe 2,022-40, something like that. 38,000 people, 2,200 positions. That's less than a % chance of you going to the league. Now, the average career in the NFL is around 3.3 years, right? So you have less than a % chance going, and when you get there, you have an average of, just the average, don't mean it's going to happen, 3 years of being in that particular space. So it's a super small window. Here's the thing, too. Come April, you're going to see people on the phone. Coach, I'm going to do it all, Coach, whatever you need, man. Tears running down. I'm going to give it my all. You going to get a dog out of me. All of that, right? That's 2,240 people that are going to have that story. That same year, 2,240 people are going to lose their jobs. It's recyclable. It continues to move in that particular space. So what happens is if you allow those numbers and that pressure to dictate your play, you're not going to last long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my previous situations with injury taught me to control the controllables. So I'm only going the way that I'm going to be on this team is, again, Mike Tomlin, make myself valuable by being able to play well at multiple positions and make as least amount of mistakes as possible, and then go play my game and let God finish the rest. That's how I was able to get almost a decade in the NFL. I'm a unique situation. I know for a fact that doesn't happen, but I also know the sacrifices and the things that I went through in order for that to take place. And so that's another thing that a lot of these young guys that we're teaching with the Athlete Alliance that they have to understand. It's like, it ain't just about putting in the work in the off season. You're going to be putting in the work throughout your entire career, and that work looks different, but it never stops. And for those that can find that edge, those are the ones that's going to find the career and the tenure.
Okay, you talked about the average of 3 years.
Yeah.
How long were you in?
I retired at year 10. So I played 9 seasons. Going into my 10th year, I was like, I'm done. So that's another thing, right? And that's a great question, and I want to touch on that. When you've seen some of these athletes on the ticker where they've made some decisions. Some of them are getting arrested. Some of them getting in car wrecks. All of these particular things. They're making decisions that are not conducive to where they probably want their life to be. There's an emptiness inside of them. There's a hurt and a pain because a lot of athletes, whether it be through injury, whether it be through coaching change, or whether it be through teams just not seeing the value of those particular individuals, they're out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
My situation was, I decided my end.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. It wasn't a team telling me you don't have any value. I was already signed with the Detroit Lions, right? Mm-hmm. But I decided that it's time for me to do something else. That's a totally different mentality than somebody saying you can't do it or your body saying I can't do it, right? So I recognize that and I'm sensitive to that. So again, I was blessed to be able to play that long. I was blessed to be able to be on the team for that long. I was blessed to be able to contribute that long. And I'm not naive to that, right? I definitely understand that what I did was not the norm, but that was the story that was written for me, and I'm appreciative of that.
Yes, and a lot of people don't realize that because I know some people, they were in training camp and were injured, and they didn't even make it to the season, and that was it. Some people a year. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, they don't know NFL stands for not for long.
They're going to find out.
We'll mess around and find out.
Mess around and find out, yeah.
And so really, unless you're around it, I mean, it wasn't until I started working around players that were actually in the NFL, it was like that was my upfront and personal, like, training to find out, like, okay, what really happens in the league.
I'll say this: you're in a unique situation with what you do because now you get to see the wizard behind the curtain.
Yes.
Right? And it's not like what everybody else thought it was. Some people can speculate. Or, I had a friend that do this, but you actually work with these athletes. And so you're able to see exactly what it looks like. And it's a different viewpoint from behind the scenes than it is in front of, pun intended, but the cameras, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you're in a unique position to be able to speak on that. And as you continue to elevate and grow, you'll be able to help other people that watch this show to be able to understand, like, hey, guys, there's really other things that take place. It ain't just this person don't want to play for a team. There's a lot of things. I actually wrote an article about how this was after Mark Andrews dropped the pass for the 2-point conversion for the Ravens that would have tied the game up with the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship. And the hate that this brother received for dropping a football, and I'm talking about like death threats on families, wishing that he was dead, speaking negative of his children, like all of these particular things over a game. I couldn't understand it. So I had to write about it and let people understand, like, look, man, these guys are human. These guys have feelings. Like, just keep it to football. If you're disappointed with the brother because he didn't make the play, okay, let's stay with that. But when you start wishing ill manner against people's families and things like that, that's when we cross the line. And you're talking about the pressure of the league. What about that type of pressure? Where me as a father, now I'm on my head's on the swivel and I don't want to leave the house because I don't know if somebody crazy enough to try to inflict harm on me or my family. So it's like it's a multitude of layers of things that athletes have to go through. Comes with the territory, I understand, but some of that stuff is ridiculous.
Even with you saying that, there's like three things come to mind. When I went down to College Station to watch a player to shoot for Mizzou this past season, their own team was heckling them. And I don't even know if Mizzou had lost yet. It maybe was one game. Because, everybody was Mizzou. When I was on my way down to Houston, I was just seeing Tigers, Mizzou Tigers. And to see how some of their own team, when they were losing, but everybody was up,
fans,
and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, because A&M, it was packed, burgundy, maroon, and white, whatever they are. And I was like, this is crazy how quick, like, your own people would turn on you. And before the season, I was at an NFL training camp, and to see how hard these guys go, that was like my first time to be in an actual NFL training camp.
Yeah.
And some of these guys, they're starters, top 50. Some of these guys, they end up going to training camps. But to hear other people, like, firsthand to say, oh, don't mention them, don't say this. They're on training, they're on the training roster.
Yeah.
They're not playing. But I'm just like, you don't even play.
Yeah.
You're not on the team. I'm like, but they're actually in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand what they did? Like, do you actually see what they do?
Yeah.
And it was, it was so, disheartening to me to see that, to hear people talk like that, because once again, like, they don't see that.
Well, I'll tell you this, E. Everybody sees the trees, but nobody sees the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the reality is that you, as an athlete, you have to understand that, you can't live for the applause.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live for the pats on the back, because if you live for the applause, then you'll die by the booze. So you have to be able to compartmentalize, the expectations of others. And the way that you do that is, you have higher expectations for yourself than they ever could have for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then when you learn how to do that, that's a part of being a professional. It's just understanding that, like, you're not going to be able to please or appease everybody, nor should you. Right? To be honest, the only one you're supposed to appease is the man upstairs that gave you life. I'm here to please God. I'm here to serve man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But don't get it twisted. That service has a limit.
Mm-hmm.
When it starts being to where it's a detriment, right, to my faith or my family, we out. Right? And I think for me, the reason why I retired was I was missing so much of, my children's life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to your point about, people turning against them and things like that, I mean, look, that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But again, it comes back to what we talked about. Control the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
What can you control? And focus on that and let God handle the rest. Because 95% of the world will never know or never have the experience of coming out of a professional stadium and having thousands of people chant and cheer your name.
Mm-hmm.
But 95% of people won't actually sacrifice the things that need to be sacrificed in order to get to that level. And that's just not even in sports. That's even in their own life.
Yep.
You won't even sacrifice the things you need to sacrifice in order to elevate your life. So why would I pay attention to your words? Like, instead of you studying for that test that's going to allow you to become what you want to become, you rather watch sitcoms all day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of you being an example for your child and showing your child what hard work look like, you rather make excuse and have a woe is me attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are not happy with themselves. And what I've come to realize is that those people that have success that are actually doing anything, they too busy being successful to hate on anybody. They congratulate anybody. Usually the people that you hear that are talking like you talk are those that are not happy with their own life. So they always have something to say because they're not doing anything. But then that's on us again. Why are we paying attention to those type of people? So yeah, I talk to my athletes about stuff like that all the time.
Yes, you're very correct. When you talk about sacrifice, it's not just the military, it's not just athletes. And in life, if you're building, if you're an entrepreneur, whatever, there's a sacrifice.
Correct.
There's always going to be a sacrifice that you're going to make, especially if you have family. I mean, even if you're single, there's things you're if you go out, if you go to the movies, you'll have to stop that. If you're you're building something, you're working, you'll have to cut that out.
Yeah.
So there's a sacrifice to something.
Yeah.
Always there's going to be a sacrifice.
There's a give and take to everything.
Yes. So I want to talk about the Athlete Alliance. You're the trustee.
Yeah.
You have 2 comrades right now.
Yeah.
Roger and Zachariah.
Correct.
Where you guys are helping athletes. And so I know you guys have athletes that are at TCU.
Yep. And
Texas Tech. Texas
TCU and Texas Tech. Yep.
Yeah, Texas Tech. So and you guys were down at the Super Bowl.
Hey, laissez la bon temps rouler, baby. Let the good times roll, shit. Well, you get that some of that F2 fair, yeah. Yeah, them my people out there, man. Shout out to New Orleans.
And you did play for the Saints.
I did,
so
yeah.
it just all came flowing back.
It did, yeah.
Flowing back.
As soon as I walked in there, they said, hey, look here, Cher. You that baby that used to play for them, huh? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, that's me. And she said, oh, come on in and get you some good food, yeah. I said, okay, I'm coming. Yeah, they're going to feed me down there.
Yes.
It was beautiful, man. So Athlete Alliance, what it is so the inception of it was my business partner, Mr. Roger Grant, and Zachariah. We were sitting down at a coffee shop, and we were basically talking about the plight of the athlete, the economic failure of the athlete, from an article that Mr. Ed Butowski, who is now a part of the Athlete Alliance, wrote. And so we were like, man, we got to carry the flag to be able to stop this. Like, we have the tools to do that. So we created a company. And so that's where it started. We didn't know that it was going to swing. So with the inception of the NIL, what ended up happening is we said, okay, it's a lot easier to work with the younger athletes and position them mentally for economic success than it's going to be for the guys in college, because they're working with the superior amount of money, and a lot of times they're guarded with their agents' people. And so that left a space, a blue ocean strategy for us to be able to tap into the college athlete. And so we started giving them instruction and understanding on how to reduce and minimize taxes, how to leverage the dollar, alternative investments. And then it flipped from there to us partnering with the branding and NIL side of our company, to where now we're helping them with the video production and creating, presence, about social media and all that, but creating social media presence to be able to capture the marketing deals. And then the third component of that was the mentorship side, being able to give them actual guidance and subtlety and skill and knowledge so that they can make the proper decisions, not only with their money, not only with their relationships and the people that they choose to hang around with, but also in their life for their families. And so that's where we are. That's what we're carrying the flag on. And so as we continue to move in that space, man, ultimately what you'll start to see is a more thoughtful version of athlete that's not into doing what the Joneses do. It's not about the cars. It's not about the clothes and the fancy parties. It's about legacy, right? It's about building for our family, our children, and our children's children. And so, yeah, that's what Athlete Alliance is, man. And from that spinoff, talking about transition, that's when I wrote my book, What to Do When It's Done, Navigate Life After the Game. So everybody go to TonyHills.com. Y'all go pick that up, man. I appreciate y'all. I got some kids that want to go to Chuck E. Cheese, man. Y'all go buy a couple of them books for me, man. You know what I'm saying? We got to pay the bills.
Please help Tony out and the kids.
Thank you. Tony love the kids.
But I definitely know how important it is for not just for social media, but for marketing and branding. Definitely have to give another plug in to Launchbox Collective.
Shout out to Launchbox.
Yes. the owners, Dave and Jen.
Yep.
We talk about this. A lot of people, especially athletes. I've polled a lot of athletes and I've asked them. I said, "Hey, did anybody ever talk to you about branding, marketing? Have they told you that you're a brand?" A lot of people do not know that you are a brand. Whether you say anything, you are a walking billboard.
Yeah.
Especially for athletes. Now that we're in the NIL space,
Mm-hmm.
the earlier you start, especially in high school, start branding. Here at Launchbox, this is a network studio. So come to Launchbox. Hey, send an email. They'll get you right. We're in here. They'll get you right. So guys, you have to start early as you can. You need mentoring, people that can help you, finances. Go see the Athlete Alliance. Tony's gonna get you right with the financial and the mentoring. See Athlete Alliance.
Can I tell them the website?
Yes.
We got a website. It's a fancy website too.
Tony said they got a fancy website.
We got a fancy website. If you go to Athlete Alliance PMA, P as in Paul, M as in man, A as in Apple. Right?
Yes.
Go to athletealliancepma.com. They can see everything that we're about, and I think that it's important because even if they don't become clients of ours, it can spark a thought process to be able to help them as they continue to move into a lot of the things that you're saying. So, for sure, make sure you go to that.
And Tony, where can they find you at on?
Oh yeah. So everybody always giving out social media, man. That's cool. I like websites, man. I keep it simple. So if you go to TonyHills.com or athletealliancepma.com, you can learn about me. I think it's important for people to understand who I am. And, if there's value that they find there, then I know that they'll support what we're doing and they'll support me. So go to TonyHills.com or athletealliancepma.com. And that's where you can find me. You might be able to find me at Lunchbox Collective now, man, that we done this. Because, look, I've been sipping on cinnamon tea. Shout out to my girl, Jay. That's my new sister from another mister right now. You know what I mean? I got cinnamon and lemon tea, y'all. I ain't never had cinnamon and lemon tea. So shout out to my girl.
They will spoil you at Launchbox Collective. Got to come on over here to Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, come on.
Everything is big in Texas.
Absolutely.
In Fort Worth and at Launchbox Collective.
Absolutely.
So, Tony, what encouraging words would you leave with the viewers?
Yeah.
Not just for athletes, but for all the regular non-athletic folks as well.
Yeah. I will say this to the athletes and to the general population, right? Gen pop. Like the thing that you do is just that. That's the thing that you do. That's not who you are, right? The entity is not who you are. You have to make sure that you understand your purpose, and your purpose is found through your proficiency and your calling. At the intersection of that is your purpose. What is your proficiency? That thing that everybody is like, man, how you do that? And you looking at them like, oh, I do this in my sleep. That's your proficiency. Your calling is that burning desire, that thing that you have within you that you like, man, I got to do this. Once you discover that and define that and you deploy yourself in that, then you go and put it into the marketplace and you serve your kingdom. Right? God has positioned you for your purpose and you have a kingdom to serve. You serve them to the utmost. And then the last thing I'll leave them with is, man, just always make sure that you align with the divine and everything else will be fine.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And once again, it's such a blessing to have you here.
I appreciate it.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
And guys, if you would love to be a guest, if you can think of anyone that you think that would be an amazing guest here on Sideline Chat with Elisha, or if you would love to be a sponsor, click on the link below, reach out to me, and guys, we would love to have you here. And until next time, see you later.